Hello, AP Art students. So I'm not here on Friday, and we were going to talk about another kind of balance, and this is about symmetrical balance. So symmetrical balance is a pretty simple idea. It's that butterfly effect, where if you look at one side of something, a composition, a drawing, a painting, it mirrors itself on the opposite side, either vertically or horizontally. Um, it always works. What you have to make sure is that then everything that you put in the center is interesting, because that's where everything's going to be framed and your eye is going to be drawn right to the middle of the page. So if you get to the middle of the page and there isn't something interesting there, then that can be very disappointing. I wanted to show you this tool in Photoshop that you could play around with today. I've opened up just a blank new artboard here, and I have gone over and selected the brush tool. And if you haven't used the brush tool much, you can go here next to where it says the size of it, and you can play around with what your brush tool does in terms of its properties there. I've got a hard round brush. It's just at 21 points, which is not, or pixels, which is not very big. But there are all sorts of brushes there that you could play around with: dry media brushes, special brushes that do little, like, different kinds of mark making and that sort of thing. So somebody who's interested in mark making could experiment with a lot of these brushes and do a drawing portfolio without ever touching a real brush. I wanted to show you that also at the top we've got all these other things, and we're not going to cover all of them right now. But over here at the very far end is this little butterfly. If I click on that butterfly, it's going to give me these options in terms of mirroring the kind of marks that I'm making: vertical, horizontal, dual, diagonal, and so on and so forth. Let's start with the simplest one, vertical. And it's going to give me this, and I could take this and say, okay, I want to move this around this way or that way, where the axis is and how high or how big it goes. And I haven't played with that as much this year as I have in the past. But even there, now that it's selected, if I go back and select my brush tool, you see it turns into a solid blue line. I've got my little pen right here that comes with my laptop, but you could do this with one of the drawing tablets in class. And if I touch and start drawing, you're going to see what happens. Like, oh yes, everything that I do on one side mirrors itself on the opposite side. And so I can have some fun with layering, and this is starting to look like a skeleton or something like that. So that's it, real short and sweet. But go ahead and play around with some of the other ones. They can get to be very, very, very interesting with all of these options here. And that might be something that you could play and expand your creativity with. Hey, if Walter can do, so can you.